Hello, can people hear me? Yes, no, maybe? Tree or Bunger, can you hear me? Let's try. Oh, you're such a troll, Bunger. Got me. Cool. Very good. Okay. So, what's it called? This stream's just going to be me kind of going over what I plan to do for a new Beetle for next year. Likely, I think I'm going to probably try to run it in March or April, maybe at a G Scroll or an NHL, depending on how fancy I'm feeling and how bad the registration process goes for it. I know it's in flux how they're doing registration, so I have no idea what I'm going to do actually. So we'll see how that goes. But what's it called? Let's just get into it. So what's it called? This is what I think I'm going to do for my new Beetle for next year. I think I'm going to join the aluminum beater craze. So DJ needs to get those beaters because I think it'll be a lot of fun to aluminum beater. I think I'm gonna run Mega Sparks because why not? Mega Sparks are really good. They work all the time, so I should just do that. FingerTech beater bar with the aluminum beater. Four-wheel drive seems like that'd be kind of fun. But that's not what I'm actually making. This is actually Kevin's old CAD for IDK, and I just dropped the aluminum beater in. So I'm actually not gonna do that because I'm not good at driving verts. What I'm actually going to do is, let me just close this because I don't need it anymore. I'm actually going to try to run a hammer saw. So that's actually what I'm going to do instead, because that seems more fun to me, honestly, and is kind of meta if you think about it. Got a lot of hammer saws that do well at places, lipo fires and the like. It's pretty good. So go through this a little bit. Just wanted to go over some of the components though first that I'm planning on using. So yeah, I was looking up the Patriot score for fun before, so let's swap it to that. So this bot, I actually decided to do something that I haven't done on any bot yet. I'm planning on actually using a 4-in-1 for it to try to make life a little easier for packaging as well as just general complexity, because I like the idea of running it on a single 4-in-1. So I was originally going to use the Neutron RC 45 amp that RSL sells. I actually had two of them at the time that I was planning to do this robot, but one of them I actually ended up sending to somebody who needed it for a different build. So I currently only have one, and they seem to be sold out. And I don't think they're ever coming back. And I'm saying this because I reached out to RSL, sending an email just saying, hey, I'm just wondering if you had any idea when these might be back in stock. And I just got crickets, and I sent it back at like the first week of December, and I haven't heard anything since. So I'm unsure, maybe there's a supply chain problem with these, or with tariffs, like Casey and RSL don't want to restock them because they're going to have to raise the prices too much on them. So I kind of assumed they're dead to me. So I ended up actually going with the Flywoo Goku after talking to Shri, as well as just asking the NHL Discord in a general sense about what they kind of thought of it. And I actually kind of like it more than the RSL one. So I'm just grabbing it because I want to show you why. One of the things I actually really like about it is there's this dumb connector that I always have problems seating stuff into. I don't know see if it's going to focus on it. You can kind of see it there, if that makes sense. And it's actually in this probably a little bit better too. This connector, I have to make weird adapter cables if I don't want to do some weird stuff where I use the actual connector. But what's nice is the back of it actually has pads that I can just solder pin wires with pins to, so I can use regular receivers, which I actually like a lot. So this is like kind of a blessing in disguise, and I'm going to be using a Goku. I know that they're a little temperamental to program. Apparently, sometimes they don't like being programmed. So I'm hoping the three I bought program nicely. So that's kind of the dream. The next thing that I'm planning to use is I picked up some Blitz lights from one of the team sponsors, Just Cause Robotics. I picked them up a while ago and wanted to put them in the build, but then Julian bought all of them off of me, so I was waiting for them to restock, and then I decided to pick up a few more. So I'm going to do these for some indirect drive, and they seem to be pretty good from what I've heard from most people. I'm running them on 4S, and I'm going to be running the lower KV variant, and it seems like it should be pretty good. And they seem to be pretty rock solid from what people have said so far. The next thing is the ARM. I have some repeat max Gen 1s that I got back from the original like beta order from a sample run that Peter had done. So I'm going to use this to run the ARM with some additional reduction because I just have like unironically like 8 of these. So even if I kill one in an event, it doesn't even matter. It is a smaller motor than some other people have run on Hammer Saw arms, but I think there's enough gearing, and I'm not like a weird 4.5 pound shuffler, so I don't think it should be that bad. But who knows? We'll see how that goes. The other thing is I'm going to be doing something interesting with this robot that is a little different from a lot of Beetle hammer saws, which is I'm planning on running the blade without a hub motor. What I mean by that is I'm going to be running it indirectly off of a motor in a robot belted to a common shaft with the arm, with another belt going to the disc. The reason why I wanted to do this is I kind of wanted to challenge myself a little bit and push myself a little to do some things that I haven't done before. One of them is I'm actually planning on running a J belt to try to clutch the disc when it hits stuff. So maybe, I see a lot of hammer saws sometimes will burn out their hub, or it'll heat up a lot. So I was tempted to try it just so I could kind of throw it with less risk of losing a $40 or whatever they are, $60 hub motor. Shri. I see. I don't like doing that. I don't like doing it with edges because then, I lose all this like 2% efficiency on my computer. Is that better, Shri? Are you happy with it? Happy that I decided to make it less annoying? But either way, my plan is I'm going to try running J-Belt as a way to kind of just run the blade with a clutch. And I plan to use a Badass 2310. Part of the reason why I plan on running a Badass 2310 is I actually have the 1680 kV from some old Sievert stuff, and I have some spare shafts, so it's kind of free. I don't have to buy a new weapon motor. So my thought process was I could save a couple of bucks and overkill a motor for the blade. So if I wanted to run it in like a vert kind of config, meaning driving backwards into people, I'm a little less worried I'm going to have enough oomph. But if I find that I am too close to weight or I want to make the robot smaller, I always have the option of going to a 2305 1960 kV or 1440 kV, probably more likely the 1440. So it's 5 millimeters shorter and should be a little smaller in the robot. The only other thing is I'm planning on running a GNB 4S 660. It's nothing special. I know a bunch of hammer saws usually run in about the 500 to 650-ish range. If needed, I've actually got a couple of 530s as well, so I can kind of dick around and make it a little smaller or lighter if I'm close to weight. That's the other reason why for the 2305 as well. So with that, we can kind of take a look a little bit at it closer. So the plan is right now that most of this would actually be printed. But the thing that I like doing on all robots I make, new ones, is I like trying new things I haven't done before on other robots. What I mean by that is a different construction method, different material, different, processes, because I learn something new on every build and it gives me something I can kind of reflect back and integrate into other things I build in the future. One of the things that I'm going to be actually trying out is the top and bottom plates for this robot are going to be the Swift 3 millimeter knockoff Tegris, because it's apparently dirt cheap, and 3 millimeter Tegris is like apparently similar weight to like 1.5 mil carbon fiber. So I said, why not give it a try? So that's going to be the top and bottom plates of the robot. So the other things that I'm doing that I haven't really done ever before is I'm doing belted indirect drive to my front and back wheels. That way, there's nothing that, if my wheels get hit, there's nothing that is impacting the motor. There is a downside with that, which is obviously if this gets hit and the belt comes off, and this gets hit and the belt comes off, I lose the drive entirely. But live and learn, try some stuff out. The other thing that I'm trying out on the spot that I've kind of done on Sievert, but I used to not do on Half-Life, is whenever I have different front ends for robots, I on Beetles just use plastites, and I found that over time, like most of the time, my front ends are disposable. But I found with Half-Life over time, the frame would kind of just not love being reused all the time, getting swapped out. So I'm going to be trying to use some PEX standoffs with some 632 screws to try it out as more of a reusable front slash more maybe durable connection. I don't really know how it's going to go. These things might bend weird when my forks get hit or something, and that kind of thing. But I kind of liked the look of this a little bit, and from a structural point, maybe it could be a little bit better. With the bot, the plan is weapon motor and battery will be on the same side as the power switch. I'll have to run the phase wires off of the weapon motor, kind of back and around through the inside of the robot, along with the drive to the other side, which will contain the 4-in-1, as well as the power wires from the battery. I think I can fit this all through these little openings I made, but I have to print this entirely out of PLA before I commit to buying top and bottom plates. I think I have enough space for all the wires, but we'll have to see. Might be a little bit tight. Then the other side just is going to have the lifter motor and the other drive motor, and they'll all connect up kind of these things with some pigtails, and the receiver will kind of live in this area. This robot, I also wanted to try to make as wide as I could reasonably, because it's a bit... I found watching hammer saws compete that it feels like, as well as just generally like control robots, it seems like the wider the robot, the better it seems to be at corralling, which is kind of what a hammer saw wants to be and do. And the narrower ones feel more like they're looking for more opportune times, where the wider robots kind of just feel like they can kind of just do whatever they want and get away with it. So my thought was, let me make this robot wide. Right now, from wheel guard to wheel guard, it is about 11.25 inches wide, which feels all right. I may end up making it a quarter to a half inch smaller just to get a little weight back, but I want to print the stack out and take it from this and kind of keep these pockets the same, but make the arm narrower. But that's kind of a ways away on that. The other things to note is I have to make a bunch of weird clearance holes, because I'm trying to make the arm not a monstrosity in length. So I kind of want the arm to go pretty far, but I originally had it way longer, as well as a bigger disc, but I found the arm kind of got ridiculously long, as well as my frame. I kind of had to make this really deep, which I didn't want to do because then it makes it harder to route cable. So I'm going to be doing some weird cutouts so the disc doesn't hit my frame, and I got to play with the alignment on those. But generally, that's the overview on the bot. There's nothing too crazy about it, if I'm being honest. It's pretty kind of straightforward. I did take a lot of inspiration for the arm setup from the robot's name, I believe, is French Toast Sticks from MRCA, because I think they're the only other Beetle with indirect drive for a hammer saw, meaning not direct driving the blade. Because the only ones I could really think of are Strike Point, Usagi, what's it called? I'll shout out Orchestry, The Wall Part 2, Cole, Mulsane. I think that's all the hammer saws I can think of, and I haven't really seen any indirect drive belted hammers. So yeah, there's that. The other thing I'm probably going to make for this bot as well is I may try to see if I can make it work as an actual hammer, meaning make like a piece of, thin steel or thin AR that I sharpen to a point and see, with the fast arm swinging that it could maybe puncture something and be interesting as an alternative config if I ever wanted to try to do something weird and armored. But I kind of want to always be able to use the hammer saw disc, but that might be more of a what's it called? More of a defensive config, which I've kind of learned defensive configs aren't as good as offensive configs. Meaning I don't impact people. I need them to kind of make a mistake, and then I bully them around and use the defensive config in that capacity. But it's something that was crossing my mind that I kind of wanted to do. So a couple of things about this bot that are interesting that I'm going to be trying out as well is this front end. I still have to design some stuff for mount points for forks as well as a wedge. I might try to make it in some way where I can keep the same for both, but it's pretty unlikely. I'm probably going to make them separate things. Problem with this front end right now is it is currently way too big for my bamboo. It is actually 30 millimeters too long, which is kind of unfortunate because that means I can't print it in one piece. So what I'm actually going to plan to do is I'm actually going to split this down the middle, and I'm going to try putting in carbon fiber rods with two halves pushed together and epoxied together. So I can make them in one piece. So there'll be a seam here, but in the back, there'll be some little bumps where there'll be some 3 or 4 millimeter carbon fiber rods kind of glued together. That way it can kind of be one piece with these together. So if, a couple of these screws come loose or whatever, it doesn't start flexing. The carbon fiber rods kind of keep it together as one piece as well. So I'm not going to be doing other things weird. Something else I might try to do in the vein of trying to make this front end not constantly being changed or one-offs for single forks is I might try what SSP does with dovetails that kind of get bolted in as mounts for like a singular fork, kind of like this where there's an oval with a hole through it for forks, or for like a wedge, like a kind of shock mounted mount where I can put bolts through it and maybe make it so I can keep this front end on the entire event without taking it off ever. And it's just me undoing a couple of plastites to help hold the dovetails in so they don't get yanked out as easily. I know that printed SSPs, I remember someone having issues where it just yanked through. And I know, split front. And I just saw someone type, split the front, but have overlapping ends. So when they slide them over the standoff, it'll be one piece on the standoff. Yeah, no, that's definitely a good idea. Actually, I like that. That way you're kind of saying, make it kind of like a U almost, where it kind of covers the seam up. So, you kind of have an L on one side, the L on another, and it kind of covers up each other. That actually doesn't sound too bad. I'll keep a note of that in the back of my head and consider that. This part of the chassis is going to be kind of wasteful. I kind of don't want to separate it, but I may separate it here. So if I lose a half, I don't lose the other half. But this I can fit in one piece on my bamboo P1S or P1P. I think it's like 220. Yeah, it's like 212. So that's something that I'm considering as well, but not as concerned. Oh, the other thing, I'm complaining to FingerTech. I don't understand why they can't put a step file of their switch, and I have this stupid, I'm going to say it wrong, IGES file, because it looks like there's a million planes over here because it's not a solid thing. This like kind of grinds my gears and bothers me every time I put it into assembly, but I don't know. I just noticed it and I thought I had an extra plane on. So a couple other things I just wanted to go over on this. The hub assembly, I'm planning to do this fully printed, meaning this hub will be printed, the disc will be AR, and then this will just be like a little aluminum or tie washer. And something I don't love, which I might look at a little closer, is with the hub, I'm planning on probably doing like a glass filled. Oh my god, I keep on trying to do visibility. I'm planning to do like a printed like glass filled nylon with plastites because the other side of the pulley gets pretty narrow. I personally love I'm probably going to try to make the plastites the entire length of the hub, meaning it'll be, you know, just long enough to be. I know there's a hotkey for it, by the way. I just forget it every time. Like, try to make some 3/4 inch plastites go the entire length to kind of help keep the hub from splitting on print lines. Ideally, I would have loved to have used some 632 bolts because the other parts of the robot are going to be 632. But looking at the square nut size for 632s, which is what I would have wanted to embed in the other side, it would have cut into the pulley. I was looking at like M3s because their square nuts are a little smaller. They're like 5.5 millimeters. So there's a possibility. Let's take a look. Actually, that's something I wanted to look at because it crossed my brain. I don't know why this is render quality. I said it once and it just like applied to it forever, which is kind of funny. Let's see, because I was looking this up earlier because it was rotting my brain that I was going to be using plastites on the hub, even though I'm only going to probably put these hubs together once, and then once it gets damaged, I'm never going to use it ever again, if that makes sense. So I'm like a little less worried about waste on that per se. Let's see, 5.7 because I want a little tolerance. Oh, it didn't apply to that because I know why. I have a stupid sketch on a different thing, so I thought it was a. I thought I'd already projected. So one of the things I wanted to try to do was see if I could maybe get enough without killing the threads of the V-belt. Not the V-belt, the J-belt. Let's see, if I go down like I go down like 3 millimeters, does it cut in? Oh, so, no, it does, it cuts in, so that's my problem. Who is this person? Is this Zoe or is this somebody else? Bees cheese? What the heck? Um, okay. Yeah, maybe you can meet me someday. I'm definitely not cool though, so that's funny. But yeah, unfortunately, I'm trying to keep the hub also small so I can maximize the amount of the blade as well as reduce how big my arm is and what can get hit. So I'm kind of struggling with the size of the hub in exchange with the blade. So I'm probably just going to try the plastites and see how bad it goes. I could see it kind of cracking and breaking in weird ways, but I don't know. Maybe glass filled nylon will just be amazing like it always is for me. So those are kind of the interesting things about the robot. The other thing I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be doing I'm going to be using repeat axles because they're actually kind of convenient with the being standoffs with screws through them. I'm going to be actually making them into D's, so that way it sits in the TPU and it's less likely to come unscrewed. So if we look at this, I actually have indents where the shafts will go in. I can tighten them through on both sides with the washer on the end and just make them nice and tight. So hopefully they don't go anywhere, as well as get my blitz lights in and out a little easier. But that's kind of that. This robot CAD's probably like 70% of the way. I do need to print out a lot of things to test. Like I forgot it downstairs. I do have a printed arm set up, but I had to make some adjustments to the hub because I was originally just doing 1/4 inch needle bearing by like 7/16, and the amount of slop in the needle bearing was making it run weird. Where this side I had 2 5/16 and it was running nice. So I'm probably I extended this to be about the same thickness. That way I could run more bearings in the stack, so it hopefully is a little less wobbly. But I did get the V-belt tension right with the help of Shri as well as the help of Michael Shore from Voxel. He was kind enough to help me with getting the right profile to start with the correct dimensions. And Shri gave me some guidance on how to do belt tension, which meant nothing, by the way, Shri. I had to guess and check, which I'd fully expected. You kind of warned me about anyway, but I was way off. So I played around with it a little bit. The other thing I'm probably going to add in, because I've heard from some people that V-belt tolerancing is kind of, oh my god, wow, didn't think you would notice me. This hammer saw looks really good, by the way. Yeah, I mean, it looks okay. I think it's going to be kind of bad, actually, but I'll get to that in a minute on why I think it's going to be just okay. One of the things I need to do is I'm probably going to add a standoff hole for a bearing so I can run a tensioner to help I heard that, but the way in which you used your logic to get it right, it was so wrong. And I just gave up and printed like a jig with a bunch of holes. And what was really funny is I made an adjustment, and the first hole was right that I thought would be right. So guessing worked. But yeah, nah, like it was just impossible to guess. So pretty much what I'm probably going to do is add a tensioner so that way I could use like a bearing or print a like spacer stack where I can keep going bigger and bigger and bigger in diameter so I can get the belt tension just right on the V belt. That way I'm not dependent on tolerancing of belts and then finding out that my disc won't spin up because it's just sliding off the pulley. But who knows? It's one of those things. The other thing that's interesting and weird about this robot is I made it like 1 inch tall internally, which is going. Wow, Shri, imagine that. You've never made a mistake. I don't know. Do you want to talk about? You want to talk about your November experience with Galaxy? Because we could talk about that if you want. I got time. Ah, crickets. I see. I see. I see. I understand. I'll remember. I'll remember later. We'll talk later about it. Don't worry. Um, the other thing that's interesting is there's going to be a lot of weird covers on my robot because I'm trying to make it as light as possible. So I'm going to have the top plate with holes, and then I'm probably going to have a couple printed covers, which is going to be interesting. Oh, there it is. You don't want to talk about it. I knew you didn't. So I'm going to do some weird covers to cover up my motors and stuff, which might come back to bite me. But I do kind of like the small, compact height robot thing. It's kind of nice, actually. Um, um, ooh, that's smart, actually. I know that's a thing because in my FRC days, I actually used an eccentric nut. Um, but it's one of those things where I'm gonna just play around with it. Maybe at this scale, I can get lucky and I don't have to worry about it. But it's just something in the back of my head. But that's kind of that for the quick overview on this bot. I generally kind of am a little worried about running wires through this thing in terms of all across the robot. I think it's going to be really tight, which worries me. And I'm going to have some nice duct tape here to keep everything down, but I'm always worried wires are going to come loose and they're going to spin and get caught by this. But they, in theory, as long as I have the correct length, they shouldn't really be able to move. But it is like this weird core fear that anything that could get hit by something spinning will without some form of firewall. But I don't really have space for a firewall, so it's going to be a bunch of, interesting things. The other problems I'm going to have with this robot is putting it together. I actually think this entire arm assembly, I'm going to have like 3 of them because it's not going to be quick. It's going to be a pain in the butt to replace quickly just because of how many parts there are in this. And the fact that I have to get 2 different belts. Yeah, no, I'm not going to do that, Miles. I'm not going to do duct tape top plates. I'm realistically going to do the Tigris 3 mil top. Um, but I think generally some TPU printed covers with plenty of clearance, it should be okay. Seeing as a lot of like other robots have gotten away with worse things, I think I can get away with it. Um, I may even try getting some thinner Tigris top panels to make it even lighter, but I kind of like excessively thick top and bottom plates when I can because from my experience, they always get weirdly dented in. But that's kind of that. So one of the things that I want to talk about was the idea of belting versus doing a hub. Little PLA rigid filament of choice for sneeze guard are great. Yeah, I'm probably going to do super PLA actually. So shout out to Overture. From my experience, super PLA kind of acts like nylon as long as it doesn't get hot. Meaning like when it gets hit, it doesn't shatter, which is weird. Like on my Sievert nose cones that I use for gliding across the ground, like Liam has done this twice with Buzzkill. He's cut the bottom one and it just removes chunks of it. It doesn't even crack it fully, like it just loses the front. So honestly, super PLA top and bottom covers are great. I'm gonna remember that because that way they won't deflect into the motors either. They'll just kind of maybe break. And realistically, this thing's going to spin for 5 to 10 seconds at a time. This is going to spin for it's a repeat max. I'm going to probably have a little bit of ventilation in the bottom too. It's not going to get that hot because the arm's not going to be constantly spinning unless I'm trying to self right. Um, but yeah. One sec. Oh, never mind. Someone was yelling up to me. Um, yeah. So yeah, Miles. I was actually going to get into why I'm not using a hub motor. So, in my opinion, after running this robot for if after running this robot for a year, my prediction, meaning if I go from March to March, this belt setup in the end will be slightly worse or the same level of reliability as the current hub motor kind of hammer saws are. Oh, Ben, I know you have trauma, but I love ventilation. Um, so probably what I'm going to the reason why I'm mentioning this is I've witnessed enough horrors of people running routing phase wires on an arm that moves where they randomly start to get damaged, and I've seen so many times people getting hit by like a vert and it just clips a phase wire. Um, and I kind of like the idea of trying to make something that doesn't have weird exposed wires on the outside of the arm where I have to be very careful about routing. That way, strain release correctly, because it feels like that's like a thing that'll freak me out, and also helping Ben do do a repair on the wall part two where he had like this wire shield on top of it where I had to cut the wire, and then I had to remember what phase was what when I soldered them together. I think I actually got it right by chance because I've had a color system and I just lost it. But it had like a frayed wire and it was such a pain in the butt getting it sheathed and redone that I'd rather just try doing a belt because it seems fun. I also love the idea that this hub probably will cost me $5 to $10, and if I throw it into a freaking beater because I'm losing, at worst I lose this entire hub, but I don't lose a $45 or $60. How much are they actually? Because honestly, like the hub's really convenient, and from what I've seen from the Just Cuz and even the repeat hubs, they seem to do really well because they're convenient for packaging um, as oh my god, as oh my god, I know your name. I know your name. I forget your name though. Shri, I forget his name. Um, Said they're really convenient for packaging, especially because you can also do cantilevered arm stuff. You don't have to double support it all the time for certain setups. But I love not having to do weird repairs on hubs. So I'm actually curious. I forget how much these are. I think they're like 50-55, which, if you consider all the customness, it's not that crazy. Uh, we're going to try search. I've never had a good experience with search. Oh, it worked. That's amazing. This has never worked in my life. Let's see. If I got a complete 1700, yeah, they're like $60, which isn't bad. Like, especially because there's replacement parts. So if you like break this portion, you get a $30 replacement. Or if a stator burns out, get a $30 stator. It's like not bad, but I've occasionally seen points where like I've seen hammer saws for a lineup where they're on that cusp of, oh, if I throw this, am I going to lose everything? And I kind of want to have the ability to just throw it and see what happens. But I don't know how it's going to go. At the end of your arm in a hammer saw like this, I don't know. This thing weighs like, let's see. It weighs like 70 grams. Plus the thing, this will be definitely a lot less weight on the arm because glass filled print's probably gonna be like 20 grams at most if I do 100%. Bearings are a couple of grams. Most people run a bolt through these things anyway, I believe, to help with keeping it together and keeping the arm together. So it should accelerate a little quicker because I think I have the arm geared for about 17 miles per hour. And the spinning disc, everyone I've kind of talked to is theoretically trying to hit like 270, 300-ish miles per hour, which seems really fast to me for a hammer saw arm spin, but I guess throwing it really fast compared to, bite on a general four-wheel drive vert, faster is better. But honestly, it's an interesting thing. The other thing that might be interesting with a lighter arm is I know some hammer saws when they start to get stuck, they can kind of throw it for momentum to kind of try to get off of something. A lighter arm may actually make that worse. So if I'm caught in a weird way on something, especially if I run magnets at G scroll because they have metal floors, it may not work the best. Meaning I may actually have a downside, but it also may just be nicer on the arm overall because I will be buying some spare steel pinions to repress onto my repeat motors because I do worry about the brass slipping because I know every hammer saw seems to struggle with that at some point, or at least the wall part two does, but that's 4.5 pounds. So I don't know, maybe that's why. I'm joking because I know Ben has had problems where he just throws the arm twice and it just goes. Um, but who knows? It's one of those things where I'm kind of just playing around with it. The other thing I could do with the hammer is just make it really heavy. If I do a hammer, as well, not just a hammer saw. Um, but it's one of those things that I'm kind of interested in trying a little bit because, as stated, this thing I think is going to be bad. I think the first two events I'm going to lose the hammer, the disc after every hit. Like I'm just going to lose. Like the belt's going to pop or the hub's going to shatter, and then I'm going to end up going to China making an aluminum hub, which is probably going to make this about the same weight at that point. But what's cool if I do that is then it's consistent, and I can also sneak threads into it. But I just want to try a printed hub first, though, because it's cheaper and YOLO. Um, but generally, I kind of like where I'm at with a lot of the stuff. Um, so maybe I'll just do some like random catting and chill on the front end. I kind of want to play around with the dovetails. Um, the other thing that I kind of want to play around with is some different fork stuff. Like I know that Stingop and Mako have used some kind of wow. It auto zoomed on my face. That's weird. Man, OBS is weird. I don't know why it zoomed in. um, I know that Mako and Stingop, or Mark in particular, got some custom like toes made out of hardened steel, like out of S7. I really want to try that with like thinner arms and then going to like a thick toe that kind of just has a nice trapezoid shape, so I can kind of feed in harder and maybe it doesn't get bite. Um, but it's one of those things that I haven't really done before, and I think I'd probably wait till the first revision. I do have some 12-014 3/8 forks that I'd probably run, or at least the center fork, because likely what I'm going to try to do is do larger like TPU corralling forks, then maybe do like a thinner AR fork, and then maybe the center or off center, kind of like how Sawblaze does the mounting, where they have two mounts on each side. Run like a feeder fork that shouldn't mind getting bit by like a beater or a vert. So it kind of glances off, and then I can kind of get under and just slam. The other thing that I might play around with, because this thing may be close to weight, is, and I'm sure Miles will love to hear my plan if I ever fight Cold Snap with this thing. I'm probably going to do just a flap wedge with maybe some little comb forks, even, or baleen forks to go under. So I'll have like a bunch of flaps, and then I'll have a few forks with some maybe hooks on them to try to get under horizontals and hold them. Because I know like fatter wedges like Usagi and even the wall, they have some trouble, corralling horizontals to actually throw their saw. And especially if, like at NHRL with the change in rule set, um, just making them bounce around the arena, I'll just lose the fight. I have to throw the saw at least a couple of times a fight to even have a chance of winning a judge decision, which, to be fair, for a hammer saw, my objective should be a battery fire or an ESC fire every fight. It shouldn't be going to judges. But it's one of those things that I, after driving Half-Life, I will have to just be more aggro with. The other thing that I kind of want to do with this robot is I want to try using the trainer port on my transmitter and having a second driver who just throws the arm that I trust and turns on the saw. And I'm just like, I'm going to yell, throw it, but if you think there's a better opportunity, just throw it. Meaning like maybe I could have Alex or Ben or Julian come down with me and just say, I trust your judgment, throw it if you think it's a good idea. I'm not going to get mad at you if you destroy it and I lose a fight. That way I can just focus on driving and never have to worry about flicking a switch and flicking the arm. I can just focus on driving and corralling. I do think it's kind of cheating if I have drive this thing with two people, but I also think it'd be fun. originally one of the plans was to make a 30 hammer saw, and then Kevin and I were going to. Kevin was going to make a hammer Omni drive vert, but then Moto changed the rules, so we kind of backed off on that. And the joke was I'd operate the hammer on the hammer bot, and he would operate the hammer saw on my bot, which would be really fun, I think, honestly. Oh, the answer is I'm not. The way that the arm is going to work is these are actually going to be TPU uprights. And when it throws, this will be a bridge nylon gear. This is actually how I do. Ben said it best. In my past experiences with bridge nylon, it actually acts as kind of a self clutch with TPU, meaning it will skip a couple of teeth and the teeth will kind of lose the shape like this. They'll kind of become that, but it's still fully functional. So it's going to be self clutching, which honestly, it worked so well in Half-Life's arm where it would get hit and it would just go thrown up from a vert, and I'd never lost the lifter. So I kind of feel okay about it, especially because bridge nylon is honestly the world's greatest material. I would make everything out of bridge nylon, but this stuff warps unbelievably. But for gears, it's honestly my favorite material I've ever used for gears because it just doesn't break. I don't have to boil it either, which is weird. I just put it in. I just put it on a bot and it just lives. And it's gotten hit directly and it shaves teeth away, but it doesn't break like nylon. It's kind of like, it feels like a TPU composite, even though that's not what it is. I know that at some point Droopy, or maybe still is made from bridge nylon. And it just kind of doesn't break. It's weird. So for now, I think I'm going to open the front end and play around with this. It's currently one piece, but probably what I'll do is I'll break it and mirror it later when I print it, meaning I'll make one step file or mirror it in CAD and then just print it that way. So right now, I think I'm going to play with making some dovetail mounts for some forks or wedge mounts. So let me look at this real quick. I think I'm going to move the standoffs I think I'm going to move the standoff actually over a little bit, which means it's going to break a bunch of constraints in this and yell at me because there's currently holes that are constraining everything. But I do want to make it so I can kind of have a fork closer to center that I can feed people into, or two forks. So let's play around with that a little bit. Also, you're going to all learn, if I do this ever again, that all of my trees are just fucked because I'm kind of lazy when it comes to catting things. So this one's pretty good. I don't think I showed the frame at all. The frame tree is terrible. This one, you can see there's a lot of features. And you'll notice as things kind of happen, I'm good. And then I realize, I got to do something somewhere that I didn't do earlier. And I'll just kind of cheat and make another extrusion, like over here for some things, but it's not terrible, honestly. So let's play around with this a little bit. I'm probably going to stream for like another 15, 20 minutes. Keep it about an hour. So feel free to shoot some stuff in chat. I don't know. Talk about snow. Talk about if you're into football. I'm not really into football. I am in fact a nerd. So let's try that. And then it's going to yell at me when I go to update it, so I'm not going to update it right away. A little further over. And then I'll probably move this one out so it's just a little further apart. So let's play around. A lot of my, I didn't put the decimal in the right place. A lot of my robots are kind of just vibe feels when it comes to dimensioning and stuff. That seems like a good thing. Like, I like that. Okay, so I'll have to play around with this fillet a little bit because it's currently interfering with the frame, but this gives me enough room, I think, for a good dovetail. I'm actually going to move this back a little bit because I think I'm going to have two. The problem I have is when I go to if I ever make a tie wedge for this thing, I don't want the tie mounts to be right here because then when it gets hit here, it's going to want to deflect way more into my frame. So I kind of feel like I'll probably add another secure point. Realistically, this thing's going to be two separate front ends, but I like the idea of being able to remove fork mounts for different forks so I can at least have all the vert fronts be the same. It also helps me with print orientation so I don't have to do weird support material shenanigans because currently the way I have it set up actually is to print it this way, stacking up, which is good. So let's take a look. So, uh, nothing important. Oh, I got a couple of messages. One sec. Nothing crazy. Okay. So, let's play around with this a little bit. So, if I was smart and wanted to not start from square one, I'd download the SSP chassis to get an idea of the dovetail setup, meaning how like the angles and stuff. But I feel like I could just do like a 45 and that might look okay. So let's do that. Okay. And 135? Nah, that's too much. I don't like that. Yeah, 120 doesn't. 125 seems okay. So then how big do I want it? 0.38 of an inch seems kind of good. So I'd probably want it to go halfway down the chassis. That feels right to me. So if we look at it, kind of looks like that. I can make the dovetail come in, maybe sneak a plastite here and here, here and here, to kind of keep it from wanting to yank out, as well as to keep it a little more secure. Could be a good idea. I know, what's it called? I know that the dovetails are actually reversed the other way on SSPs. I think no, it's just posts. Because I remember Julian when he was doing Mako long ago. Seth actually embraced one of his mods where the posts were here because it was like two dovetails, and Julian made like a wraparound to hold it so it wouldn't want to yank through the UHMW. Obviously, that puts a lot of stress on the post. I know people were breaking them occasionally, but it made it so the forks just didn't get yanked out. But I feel like I've seen Julian do enough weird stuff with plastites on Mako fork mounting that has given me confidence that if I put four plastites, 1, 2, 1, 2, they aren't going to go far, or if they get hit, maybe it'll even shock absorb a little bit. So that's that. Now I will mirror this on the extrusion. Mirror. Oh, by the way, I know Shree's a big inventor guy. Feel free to roast how I do shit. Because I've seen your CADs, so you won't be able to like, you won't even be able to like live this down because I've seen some of your monstrosities. But feel free to anyone to comment on my CAD etiquette. I'd love to be. Oh, I did it upside down. I did it on the bottom, which I don't want to do. So I'm gonna actually redo this. But yeah. Hi, so and so who knows me from Siebert. Why did it do that again? I didn't click on that plane. Yes. I can't wait for him to be like, that's cringe how he's doing that. He could do it just like a different way. Um, yeah, it's one of those things. I learned Inventor in high school. We learned it the wrong way. So I use constraints for everything. I don't use joints anywhere. Oh, man. Miles is also on board making fun of Shri. Huge. Huge. So, what's it called? Since I'm just boringly catting and trying to interact with people, anyone got any fun events they're planning to go to this year across the country? I know that there's a WPI event Shri and I think a few other people from Georgia are coming from. Anyone going to any fun events in their minds that out from the norm from what they normally do every year? Like anyone going to like I don't know somewhere in California from the East Coast or West Coast, vice versa? Going coast to coast, not coast to coast, north to south, going to an event they haven't gone to ever before that they're excited about? Any fun holiday stuff go on? Okay, so that's that. So let's save. It'll update in here. I can make that work. Uh, yeah, I can make this work. I actually like where this has landed. I can actually probably move my standoffs back over. Because the other thing, no, I can't do it here. I'm stupid, because then I'd have to make cutouts in the uprights. So these got to get moved over more. Apparently, you're a CAD etiquette snob, if that makes sense. Oh, I didn't make this the right dimension anyway. Apparently, so take that as you will. That's pretty funny, actually, that you're known as. Oh, I'm not going to update it because it's going to yell at me. There's a lot of brick constraints now. So what can you describe to me like the proper workflow from step 1 to 3 for CAD etiquette? Because I definitely did not do this correctly. Like I don't do master sketches. It's not something I was ever taught, so I don't do that. I actually should explain like how I came up with the size of his robot and did a bunch of things. I kind of just did a stupid layout with some parts where I made boxes and measured them. Where I'm like, yeah, an arm's got to fit in this space. You know, a battery's got to fit in this space. Weapon's got to fit in this space. Like, yeah, it seems fine to me. Um, exactly. Miles is saving time. He's innovating. You don't constrain anything. I still got to move this over more. I'm probably going to end up making this dovetail a little different in angle because I think it's going to get too close for me to put a plastite in. Or maybe I can do some weird like printed fillets, which will also make them directional, which kind of sucks. Actually, no, they should be because realistically, my forks are going to be like in a weird spot in mounting, so they're going to be directional. I'm not coping anymore now. It'll be fine. Let's try 1.5. Oh no, I don't want to update it. I'm going to end up moving this standoff a little more over. I may sneak a standoff in the middle. No, I can't because I'm putting carbon fiber rods. I'm probably going to commit the sin and put plastites here, which means I'm going to have 2 different fasteners, which is funny. Um, oh, I mean, your setup for electronic management in the first part is pretty much what I do as well. It's just I just do a master sketch after determining the general electronic space I want. Treat CAD's like a freshman EE? What does that even mean? I've never heard that term. I've never heard CAD's like a freshman EE. That sounds like a sick burn that I don't get. Is it a sick burn, chat? Is it sick? What was it, a good burn? I'm gonna end up hating these things. I'm gonna probably make them smaller. Maybe like 122.5. Oh, I didn't make it equal. Let's make it equal. Okay. Yeah, 0.3125. Yeah, it could work. Add a 16th. Yeah, we can go. Yeah, I like that. That seems okay. I could probably do 2 plastites here, one on the bottom. That way I don't have this problem where I have to like chunk the upright to make it work. Because I believe right now there's a screw in the front. Yeah, there's a screw in the front. I don't want to mess with that too much. So yeah, I think I'm gonna try just doing 2 screws here and 1 here at the bottom, and then I'll make a quick little dovetail mount as a start point, and then we'll probably call it a night after I do that. So we're gonna save this. It's gonna yell at me. Ooh, okay, cool. It didn't completely scream at me. Huge. Okay, so okay. Also, if I ever do this again, you're gonna learn that I'm really bad at spelling, like criminally bad at spelling. Oh, I also pick random planes, so everything is just in different orientations. So that's another thing is I do not work off of single planes. I just pick one randomly when the part's like you got to make a part, and I work from there. So ah, okay. Then let's make a nice little rectangle. So I want to make this about the head of a plastide, which is like 3/8 of an inch, kind of. Not really. And we'll make this an eighth. Maybe what I'll also do to help with tearing is maybe add a fillet in here, so I'll fill the dovetail slightly. Ah, Miles, I had you. Now I lost you. I lost you just now, Miles. I can tell. That's okay. I don't really care. Yeah, I'm a monster. I just pick random planes because I'm the worst. So now, coming off the front, I'd want some kind of almost fork. Let's make it centered. Okay, let's try. I feel like my half life works. I would run like standard 1/4 inch unless I was fighting beaters, which were 3/8. And I want more on each side because they always get abused. I kind of want to make them. I use metric shoulder bolts too for the front end on half life. I'm not going to use 1/4 inch shoulder bolts because that's too much. Maybe I'll use standoffs on this robot. Let's try 1 inch for now. Then we're going to constrain the midpoint. And the back end will be 3/16. Okay. So let's make you all. Actually, let's just extrude the dovetail right now. Also, what's wrong with random planes? Like, can someone tell me what's wrong with that? For reference, my day job, I work in AutoCAD. I don't work in 3 dimensions. So if it's like an industry thing, I don't work in the industry. So why do I care? This one we're gonna make 0.75. Yeah, let's make it the full height and see how it looks. I kind of want to add a fillet here, so that's what I'm going to do. Yeah, an eighth fillet seems okay. I can't wait to put this in and get the inventor "I hate what you did to me" sound. So y'all ready to hear it? It's going to yell at me because nothing is constrained correctly anymore because all the holes moved. I'm ready for it. There it is. I'm going to accept the relationship and deal with it later. And it's going to yell at me again. Oh, it didn't. Interesting. Oh, yeah, it hates what I did. I can already tell it's sick. This thing is angry at me. Because I know what the broken relationships are, by the way. It's all of these holes that moved because they're constrained to these holes. So that's why it's screaming at me right now. Because I just moved the front end and just didn't care. Actually, we can fix this right now real quick because I don't really care if this thing moves. Oh, it's not? Oh, I know what it is. I gotta click on the bottom plate. because it's not directly attached to these. There it is. That's the one that's going to yell at me. If I get rid of this, it probably no longer yells at me. Interesting. I thought there'd be more stuff screaming at me. Huh. That was just one constraint. I'm shocked. Okay. And then if I was making a little fork, let's call it 0.5. And I'm probably going to make this wider, but for right now, I'm just going to make a little guy. 0.565. Yeah, unfortunately, Miles, not the best dating advice. You are correct. I fixed it, by the way. It was just one hole, which is shocking. I assumed it'd be more. I assumed it would scream at me for more things, and it didn't, which is cool. Okay. Oh, it's a height thing. That's why. I'm like, why is it not unhappy as much as it should be? That's the plane. Okay. 0.5. Okay. And be 0.375 minus like 0.2. Nope, that 0.2 millimeter. I also mix units, which is great. Because 3D printing tolerances taught me millimeter tolerancing, where I work in American, because this is America. So all my things are mixed to imperial and metric. That's the other curse thing about how I do things. So yeah, you can hate that. I hate it too, FYI. It's a habit that I'm not used to. I think I use 5 millimeter shoulder bolts on Half-Life, so I probably have a bunch of those. So we're going to stick with that. I like these to be a little looser, so I am probably going to print this dovetail setup with some plastites in it just to see how it feels, if that makes sense, before I hard commit to making them. So we'll mirror this. So oh, hey, I'm looking at big wheel designs. Any tips from your time designing and driving Little Man? The answer is you will go overweight. What I mean by that is you need to design all the time as though you're trying to lose weight, like to the extreme. And it's actually something that Jonathan Schultz told me when I was asking him some stuff about Tiny Huge. He said every huge will go overweight at some point. And if you just build with the mentality it will go overweight, you will not go overweight. Meaning, assume everything that you think is good, cut out a little bit from it. So you're like, oh, I'm going to do 2 millimeter top and bottom plates on my Tiny Huge. Make them 1.5. You're going to go overweight. And the most recent revision that I fought at NHRL was like on 2.99. And it's because I trimmed everything out of it I could. And it held up okay. Not kind of you, Miles. I just forgot because I did some shock mounting for direct driving wheels. I didn't think correctly about what would happen if a horizontal hit them off plane. I was only thinking about verts hitting them like kind of off glance. The other piece of advice I would say is they're kind of chaotic and they're weird to drive. Like you can't really stop. You have to always be driving forward and kind of drift turn because if you stop, the body wants to flip itself, even if in the correct orientation and weight, which I learned real quick over time that I had to just drive, and I still drive it poorly because I always stop and it just like wants to tip all the time. But generally, they're kind of fun. They're interesting, and people freak out and want to make weird bike racks for you. So it's always a fun time, if I'm being honest. You're guaranteed to get some fun things. So I actually like how that looks. Let's add some plastite holes, and then that'll probably be it for today. because I haven't worked on this thing in a while, by the way. I've been trying to move because I purchased a home recently, so I've been trying to get stuff done with that. Can I project this plane? I can totally project this plane, right? Yeah. Okay, I do this as a sanity check to make sure my heads aren't going to end up in weird places. I would do 0.13. Let's make this 2. Where does that land it? Oh, beautiful, dude. Okay. Let's do another one. I'm going to end up copying the dimensions for the above ones, by the way, making it equal to them. So don't worry that I just put in the wrong numbers. Oh yeah, the other thing, Miles, by the way, is you can do some pretty thin blade shenanigans. Like almost all my blades are 3/16. Meaning like they're not that thick. Also, if you're gonna do anything, honestly, Beetle. I don't know if you're. I'm assuming it's a Beetle. I would do gear drive. I'm kind of like on the gear drive hype train. It kind of feels nice and it's super easy to deal with, and you don't have to worry about belts slipping or falling off. So you can do some weirder stuff. So I'm like kind of all in on the TPU gear hype. Let's make this equal to this. I clicked on the wrong thing. Let's make this equal to this. This equal to that. This equal to that. This equal to that. Okay. And I'm actually going to adjust it slightly. I want the screws to be further up from the bottom. Did this not? Oh, it did. And then I got 3 holes. So now let's save. And then what I'll do tomorrow is I will... Oh, it's on the wrong thing. I just realized I did a funny, but I can kind of fix it over here. I made it the wrong side because I'm stupid. I'm actually going to fix this real quick because this bothers me if I don't fix it. This one. No, I want this one. So it's going to yell at me because everything moved. I'm aware. And then, this is the one thing I hate about Inventor is the damn constraints. I'm just going to cheat and do another rectangle, which is the wrong way to do this. Yeah, it's going to yell at me. I know I messed up. I know. It's because I'm stupid and I didn't realize what I was doing when I did this. Oh, no, not that one. This one. Yep, I know. And now this one, it's like, oh, what did you do? Oh, wow, that wasn't as bad as I thought, actually. Huge. It was like kind of smart and knew what I was kind of going for. I'm shocked. Usually the sketches are, I assume there'd be a nice purple line telling me the thing went away. But, you know, sometimes there is some nice stuff, you know? And did the fillet make it? Oh, it's on the wrong side. Okay, well, we can fix that. Okay. This might yell at me because the constraints may have moved. So one of the things I'm going to have to do when I do these screws is, especially on this side, I'm going to, oh, I forgot that now, but I'm extended into the frame. I could probably just cut this away. This isn't doing anything. As long as the screw head fits. Yeah, I was gonna do that, but then I did it the hard way, because I hate myself. You were correct. I should have just did it that way. It would have been infinitely quicker. I'm gonna make this visible so I can see it in my part. Oh, huge! Look at that. It's like I intended for this to happen. There's enough room for the screw head, so I could probably just make a cutout in the dovetail mounts because I kind of like where they're positioned. Because now if I put like a pair of forks here, they're like kind of centered. I still don't love it that I can't have a fork in the center, but at a cost of making this thing printable on my current printers without having to find someone with a 300 millimeter printer to print all my fronts, or buying a printer to do that, which I'm not doing. I don't have the money for that, or the time or willingness, because that's not. I think I'm curious. An H2D is not 300 millimeters. Like I'm confident about that because my brain told me, "Oh, Bamboo's going to make a 300 millimeter printer," and then they didn't. I'm also not buying an H2D. I just don't have the money to do that right now. But I know someone who has an H2, and I can just have them do it by saying, "Hey, do me a solid," which they probably will say, "I hate you." Oh shit! It's 330 by 330. Okay, future me is going to think about this, but I'm definitely not loving the idea of depending on someone else to print stuff for me every time I want to make a new front end because that's a lot of time and TPU that I don't have to send them. So probably not going to do that if I'm being honest. So I think that's it for tonight, guys. So I was able to kind of talk through some of my stuff, my design process. I may do another follow-up video on this robot once I get it more finalized. I do some testing stuff. Maybe I'll even be fancy and show some testing video of it before I start ordering parts. Oh, I know you do, Shri. I know you do. But I may end up just doing some I may do a follow-up video before it competes just to go over it a little more. Some of the changes. The other thing is I've gotten some PIBA recently. I'm probably gonna make my wheels out of PIBA because I like weight, and it's more testing and data because it's like a co-PA, so it's like a nylon and a TPU had a baby, and when it gets hit, it doesn't look like it works like TPU, and I don't love that. But I also love the fact that it's less dense, so it's lighter. But I don't feel confident using it for my frame. But I want to play around with it more. So these wheels are going to probably be PIBA as well. It's another thing I'm playing around with. Just wanted to mention that. But that's that. So if anyone has anything else, if not, I'm gonna go drink some water and probably shovel some more snow in like an hour. Also, shout out to our sponsors, Overture and Just Cause Robotics. They're both awesome, make good stuff. Would recommend Overture's TPU and Super PLA to anybody. Their TPU is a little softer than some of the other brands like SaintSmart, but if you design around it, it's not too bad. And Seth, Just Cause Robotics, Seth always puts a lot of love into his products. I've heard nothing but pretty much good things about Blitz lights, as well as his hub motor products, especially in Ants. Like running it as intended, it's pretty good. Okay, I should have clarified. These will be Vitaflex urethane wheels, but the core of the wheel that has the pulley as well as holds the bushings and stuff will be PIBA. Driving on PIBA, not great. I won't have any traction. Anything can push me. Like an ant could push me around if I drive just on PIBA. I'm guaranteed gonna lose if I do that. The other thing I might play around with on this robot, but that's way in the future, is I might try cleats because I've always wanted to do cleats. Not because I think they're good, just because I think it'd be interesting to have the cleat urethane composite for the best traction without having to do weird 20A shenanigans. And even then, 20A is not going to give you as much as a cleat digging into wood in theory. But that's future me's problem. But that's that. So everyone have a good night. Have a good year. If I think it's right on that cusp of stop saying Happy New Year to people, but hope everyone had a good holiday, and we'll talk more, I'm sure. So have a good night.